place tonight, although the final vote is not in from the New Hampshire Democratic primary, but she is having a strong night, especially considering where people, especially pundits, thought she might be at this point in the race. We should note, as more of the vote comes in, how it is narrowing between the lead front runner right now, Senator Bernie Sanders from neighboring Vermont, and South Bend, Indiana former Mayor Pete Buttigieg, who is now only about 2.9 percentage points behind Sanders. So that race tightening a little bit, even as Klobuchar falls behind, still in a strong third place, considering that a lot of people, as she noted just a few minutes ago in her speech, had written off her campaign.
No question. This is a moment for Amy Klobuchar, and one that she, as we were watching her, you mentioned, she seized.
Yeah.
She gave the speech that we've all heard her give many, many times, but people tuning in maybe for the first time outside of New Hampshire haven't heard. The performance she had in the debate on Friday night changed things for her. And we could see that with the results, but just anecdotally, how many voters I talked to in New Hampshire who said that, who were considering Joe Biden, even considering Pete Buttigieg, and decided to go for Amy Klobuchar for a variety of reasons. She really got their attention, and she came in third place, which is a big victory for her.
That's right. The big question, of course, that I have going forward for Amy Klobuchar is, where does she go now? She's popular in New Hampshire. She's proving to be popular with moderate Democrats. She's proving to be popular with white college-educated voters. But
she's not polling well with African Americans.
No, and that's a real weakness, especially South Carolina and Nevada are diverse states. New Hampshire is about 94% white. Nevada is only about 50% white. 60% of the Democratic voters in South Carolina are African American. Is she going to be able to attract non-white voters?
This is going to be a real test of whether winning begets winning, which we have seen in past election years. This is going to be a real question for her because she's pretty much at the bottom when it comes to African-American voters.
All right, well, let's stay with us. We're going to squeeze in a quick break. The race is tightening clearly between Pete Buttigieg and Bernie Sanders. When we come back, we expect them to speak shortly, and we expect to get the final results. Stay with us.
Love is a dangerous game. Thankfully, guaranteed wins exist. Right now, get the half-carat diamond heart pendant for $299.99 at Helzberg Diamonds.
Wireless for $15 a month. That's not right.
It's right, all right. Finger dipping? That's not right.
That dip look good.
Oh, that does look good.
You gotta try this. That's so good.
That's not right.
Neither is the way you get wireless. Mint Mobile took what's wrong with wireless and made it right. We're easy, online, and just $15 a month. Get your plan today at mintmobile.com.
Different folks have different strokes.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh, get it, baby. Different moves for different grooves.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
My psoriatic arthritis pain, I had enough. It's not getting in my way.
Joint pain, swelling, tenderness, much better.
My psoriasis, clearer. Cosentyx works on all of this.
4 years and counting.
So watch out.
I got this.
Watch me.
Real people with active psoriatic arthritis are feeling real relief with Cosentyx. Cosentyx is a different kind of targeted biologic. It treats the multiple symptoms of psoriatic arthritis to help you look and feel better. It even helps stop further joint damage. Don't use if you're allergic to Cosentyx. Before starting, get checked for tuberculosis. An increased risk of infections and lowered ability to fight them may occur. Tell your doctor about an infection or symptoms. If your inflammatory bowel disease symptoms develop or worsen, or if you've had a vaccine or plan to. Serious allergic reactions may occur.
I just look and feel better.
I got real relief with Cosentyx.
Watch me.
Feel real relief. Ask your rheumatologist about Cosentyx.
Yes, I adored him. Yes, I was in love with him. But I was very let down. There were three of us. in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded.
The Windsors, Inside the Royal Dynasty, premieres Sunday at 10 on CNN.
John Jones is the greatest fighter of all time. No one's ever been able to dominate like that.
Dominic Reyes, still undefeated, 12-0. He's been knocking people out left and right. Valentina Shevchenko.
That woman is an assassin.
Shukagian.
She's got a lot of skills, and she's a dangerous woman.
Come home to Hope Valley and see all the faces you love again.
Scandalous.
There he is.
Here we all are.
When Calls the Heart Season 7 premieres February 23rd. And watch all your favorite heartwarming episodes of seasons 1 to 6 only on Super Channel On Demand.
Race for the White House. New season starts Sunday at 9 on CNN.
Got a key race alert right now with 62% of the estimated vote now in. It's getting a little tighter for first and second place. Bernie Sanders with 26.5%, Pete Buttigieg 23.8%, Amy Klobuchar in third percent with 20%, Elizabeth Warren fourth place 9.3%, Joe Biden, look at this, fifth place 8.5%, Tom Steyer, Tulsi Gabbard, Andrew Yang down below. Let's go over to John King, take a closer look. It's only a 2.6% difference between Bernie Sanders and Pete Buttigieg. Looks to be tightening a little bit.
It has been going back and forth a little bit, somewhere in the ballpark of 5,000 votes. You see it's 48-51 right now. A few minutes ago, Sanders was up by 53. A few minutes before that, the lead was a little smaller than 48-51. So we're rocking and rolling a little bit in a close race. This is a very close race at the top, competitive race, third race. So you're looking at the map now, and you're at 63%, and you're saying, okay, is it mathematically possible? Well, of course it is. It's under 5,000 votes. It is mathematically possible. So what's out, and what are you looking for, and what's happening? Just want to stretch this map out a little bit. If you're in the Sanders campaign, that's not the margin you wanted, and you're trying to figure out what's missing. To Durham, University of New Hampshire, go back in time. Senator Sanders won this pretty big. The expectation is he will again, but that's the expectation. Let's see. When Durham comes in tonight, does Senator Sanders win it as big as he did? It's obviously more than two. It won't be the same as 4 years ago because that's a two-candidate race. But does he win it big? He can pad it there. Another college town across the state on the Vermont border, Hanover. Still no votes in here. Again, go back in time. This was more competitive, but it was a place Sanders won 4 years ago. The question is, can he deliver there tonight? So we come back in. Those are two places, just obvious. Younger voters, college towns, they tend to be for Sanders. That if you're in the Sanders campaign, you're thinking we should pad some votes there. Emphasis on should. Now I just want to stretch the state out for a little second here. Excuse me for turning my back for a sec. And just come across the bottom. Buttigieg is in play because, again, a multi-candidate race is very different than a two-candidate race. But you see here, the light green is Buttigieg, the darker green is Klobuchar, the light blue is Sanders. There's more Sanders than anything else, but if you go back in time, he owned it, right? Two towns for Hillary Clinton 4 years ago. Again, it's more complicated in a crowded field, but Senator Klobuchar and Mayor Buttigieg, especially in the final weekend.
It's only 2.5% now, separating the two.
4,700 votes now, as you see, 47 and change. And so both Buttigieg and Klobuchar spent a lot of time in the final weekend down here, which is A, where you find Democrats, B, where you find undeclared voters who are available, a lot of Massachusetts converts up here, and C, more population. Some of these towns are quite small, but more people live down here than live up here. There's still some business to be done up here. You see the blank counties. That's where you see these counties where we have none of the vote in. Towns, where we have none of the votes. Jackson right here. So you see, but I just want to make a point. In a close race, every vote counts. But if you just go into some of these other counties, towns, when they come in, they tend to be very small vote counts. So if you're trying to make it up, if you're Buttigieg, you certainly want to win more up here. You see some Buttigieg, a lot of Sanders, a little bit of Klobuchar. You want to win these, but even if you do, the likelihood is you're going to gain 2 votes here, 5 votes there. The action is going to be down here.
Show us the population bubbles because it's significant that most of the people in New Hampshire, they live down south.
Right. Let me clear that off and come up with this, and I'll bring this down here. Again, the smaller these dots, the larger the dot, the larger the population. The smaller the dots, the less people up there. The gray is where we don't have votes yet. So, again, every vote counts. If you pick up 6 here, 8 here, 10 here, 12 there, you start to catch up, but you see the bigger circles down here. This is where the people live. There's no large cities in New Hampshire, giant cities in New Hampshire, and the ones that are in. The interesting thing about this, Wolf, is you turn this off, the largest population centers are in. If you look here, again, I just want to stretch it out a little bit so people can see it a little better at home. Manchester's the biggest city, 100% reporting. So there's no business to be done there. Back in 2008, this is where Hillary Clinton came back when Obama was leading early on. You come back up here, conquer the state capital, 100% reporting. So what we're looking for now is these smaller towns, predominantly down here along the Massachusetts border or close to the Massachusetts border. And again, you come over here, 100% in Portsmouth, Sanders winning quite narrowly. Just worth watching the margins because when you go back in time, and I'm a broken record, 2 candidate races different, but this was relatively competitive compared to the blowout that you had statewide 4 years ago. So you're looking here, when we get to Rye, we don't have anything yet, right? This is a place where you want to watch. Sanders winning here, Buttigieg winning here, more affluent voters here along the coast. We'll see how that one goes. We're waiting for Northampton to come in, Hampton to come in. Just to go back in time, again, Sanders won these, but much closer. So you have his vote, same with Northampton up here. Sanders won them, but they're closer. Does the multi-candidate race, come back to 2020.
Let me ask you a question.
I just want quickly, if this part of the map, you see it, and it's easier to stretch it out since we're in this part of the state, you just see the light green. The question is, will that be a swath? If so, watch the math, or does Senator Sanders start to fill that in? Sorry.
If 4 years ago he beat Hillary Clinton by more than 20 points,
yes.
Are you surprised that it's as close as it is right now? This is 4 years ago. Are you surprised it's as close as it is right now between Sanders and Buttigieg? You got a moderate in second place and a moderate in third place in Bernie Sanders.
After being briefly in New Hampshire this weekend, no, in the sense that Democrats were just simply anguished. They want to beat Trump. That's the thing that unifies them, and they were all over the place on who's the best candidate to do that. Surprised to the degree that it was such a blowout last time. Surprised to the degree that Senator Sanders was overwhelmingly favored because he's from the neighboring state of Vermont. Remember, though, throughout the summer, he had competition from Elizabeth Warren, from neighboring Massachusetts. She has slipped into single digits tonight and now trying to figure out, can she rebound as she moves on? These two candidates that debate, David Chalian showed you the exit polls, Senator Klobuchar especially, and Mayor Buttigieg came out of Iowa with some gas behind him. In this big candidate field, yes, I'm surprised that Senator Sanders does not have a bigger lead in New Hampshire tonight, but having been there this weekend, you just sensed it, that people wanted to keep looking. They had not decided yet. It's like picking a new car. They were out kicking the tires all weekend long. And this will be the big conversation now as this race moves on. There are the people, you hear the candidates who are underperforming, like Warren and like Biden tonight, saying, hey, we're just getting started. This is 2 states. You hear the analysts saying, well, where's the turnout? If Senator Sanders is this turnout engine, why didn't he turn out more voters tonight? Well, it's a fair question to ask. The other thing in defense of Senator Sanders, you're running against a quality field of a lot of candidates. And so the vote is being spread. And the voters this weekend, I encountered a lot of them weren't looking at this as liberal or moderate. They were looking at who's best to beat Trump. Or they said, he has some appeal to liberals and to moderates. She has some appeal across. And if you look at the exit polls, in the pre-election polls, Bernie Sanders doing fairly well among voters who say they're moderate to conservative. How's that happening? They know him. They're familiar with him. They find him authentic. They think he's different. So this shows you 4 or 5 candidates coming out of New Hampshire who are going to say they're going to stay on. We'll see how they do. But this is incredibly competitive. 4,600 votes as we get into the end. And again, I'm just waiting here for these counties. I just want the towns to come in. You go across them. This is of the ones that are outstanding where we have nothing. This is one of the larger ones here. Derry, again, if you look at the Massachusetts border and you come up, you're in a place where you come up this way. As a kid, when we used to drive up from Boston into New Hampshire, you came straight up through here. And if you look at Derry here and you go back in time, this was a blowout for Bernie Sanders, the town of Derry, 4 years ago. So it's one of the places we're going to watch as we're waiting to count votes. Look at Pete Buttigieg has it surrounded. Can he keep it that way? If he can keep it that way in a place that should have a decent number of votes, then we'll see if the math gets closer.
And 65% of the estimated vote is now in. That's a significant number, but there's still 35% that's still outstanding.
Yeah, more than a third of the vote out. 4,500 vote margin. Again, I'm looking at this.
The gap is now only 2.4% between Bernie Sanders and Pete Buttigieg.
Right, and so you're looking at a town like Derry, you're looking at Durham and Hanover. Derry, as I said, Buttigieg seems to be putting a little bit of a ribbon across the southern part of the state. We'll see if he can keep that going, or does it become like a checkerboard with blue and green. And I want to watch Hanover and Durham, the two college towns, not only does Sanders win them, but the whole question, is he turning out his base?
You see, the light green is in the southern part of the state. Right. That's where the people are. Most of the population is in the southern part of New Hampshire.
To show you that again, yes, this is where most of the people are. And it's also where you have, it's more of a, you have Massachusetts converts, you have people here for the low-tax environment, you have some growing suburbs here. If you went back to New Hampshire 20, 25 years ago, there's a lot of growth in here. And so there's a mix of an electorate. And remember, in New Hampshire, it's an open primary. A lot of the voters in the primary today call themselves undeclared. They may tend to vote Democratic more often, but they call themselves undeclared. They can cross in. And this is 4,500 votes.
Since we started getting 3, 4, 5% of the vote, Bernie Sanders has been in the lead. But it's a lead now of 4,500 votes or so over Pete Buttigieg. 35% of the votes still outstanding. Can Pete Buttigieg potentially overcome second place and become first place?
Mathematically, yes. Again, if you look at the places that are out, and I want to see those college towns, you feel a lot more strongly about it, seeing how those play out. But I just want just to get into the math you're asking about. So you go to Chester, Pete Buttigieg wins. Bernie Sanders is here, but you're talking 80 votes, the margin between the two of them, Klobuchar in the middle. So the question is, can you have enough of these small town wins to make up the math? And you look at it and you say 4,500 votes, that's not a lot of votes. It's not, except a lot of these towns are pretty small. So even if you win, you get net gain of 20 or net gain of 50. The question is, in some of the bigger places, like a Derry, can you get a net gain of a couple hundred, several hundred to close the gap? And that's why we're going to wait and count.
I just want to ask, so last September, October, Senator Elizabeth Warren from neighboring Massachusetts was in the lead in polls in New Hampshire. And we've talked about Biden's collapse in New Hampshire and Iowa. We haven't talked a lot about Senator Warren. How is she doing in these border states, border counties and towns, when it comes to her performance? Right. Because as of right now, we're projecting she's not going to win any delegates. Is she at least coming in second or third?
This is where it's disappointing. And, if you're a Warren supporter, you're disappointed tonight. You're trying to figure out, can we regroup? Again, a strong organization, yet didn't turn out the votes. You ask yourself, how did that happen?
Yeah.
Why did somebody eclipse you? So let's just go through and look at this. And you're looking, this will pop up statewide, but just look along the border in places. You start here. She come in first? Nowhere. Second? Nowhere. Third? Nowhere. You might find one or two up there, one or two towns up there, but south of Concord is where most of the people of New Hampshire live, and Elizabeth Warren was a non-factor. In these towns, critical cities, suburbs, this is where it is, especially the corridor right down through here, from Concord down to Nashua. This is where New Hampshire primaries are won and lost. Come this way from here, and she's from Massachusetts, and
a lot of those people in the southern part of the state are in the Boston media market. They get Boston TV more than they get New Hampshire. And there isn't as much TV when it comes to local news coverage.
There's obviously will be strategic conversations. You saw the memo from our campaign manager today. Was it just that Sanders went back in there, kicked into gear? He's well organized. He's a neighboring state as well. She had her hiccups on Medicare for All in that debate. There was the story about the Sanders-Warren dinner, and did Sanders say to her, I don't think a woman could win? Sanders denied that he said that. There's going to be a lot of analysis in the Warren campaign trying to figure out.
She still has a path going forward, absolutely.
It's hard. We have two contests in. That's embarrassing. It's two contests in. She has a strong organization. The question will be, can she raise the money?
Right.
And can she get to Nevada and regroup?
2/3 of the vote is now in. A third still remains outstanding. About 186,000 votes already have been counted. The question is, can Pete Buttigieg take on the lead? Are there enough votes left out there? We're going to have much more right after this.